So my name is Shobha Sivaprasad Wadhia. I'm the Samuel Weiss Faculty Scholar at Penn State Law. I also direct a clinic called the Center for Immigrants Rights Clinic and teach classes in immigration and asylum and refugee law.
Equity at its best.
This is part 2 of our interview with Professor Wadhia, and the question was, what was the impact of DACA's rescission?
So on September 5th at 11 a.m., the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, held a press conference. It was televised, and it was at this press conference where he announced the end of DACA, and rescission is just a fancy word for end or termination. And by its terms, any person who currently has DACA or work authorization will retain their status or permit until it expires, unless it is revoked or terminated for a specific reason. For anybody who has a DACA permit that expires between now and March 5th, the government must receive renewal applications by October 5th. So that's really just around the corner. Next week is a very important deadline for renewal applications to get in. Unfortunately, those who have DACA that expired before September 5th or after March 6th, 2018, on or after, are not eligible to renew their DACA. Nor is the government accepting any new DACA applications. So this is the government's way of phasing out or ending the DACA policy as we know it. Well, I think that the landscape of immigration law and policy has changed significantly since the election, and even at the Center for Immigrants Rights Clinic, I think a lot of our role is to not necessarily make a person's situation better, but to make it from really bad to bad, or worse to very bad. It's been playing defense on a lot of levels. So the rhetoric around immigrants and immigration has always been divisive, if you will, and immigration has always been a polarized issue, I think. We could say that the rhetoric is at a heightened level in this administration. That's my own opinion. And you have a president who ran on a campaign that really was against immigrants in some ways, and one that called Mexicans rapists and called for a complete and total shutdown of Muslim immigration. Those were some of the statements that were made by the president on the campaign trail. And so when you have a campaign that rests on statements such as those, and then you look at the policies that came afterwards, what is really generated is a climate of fear. And so if you look at some of the policies that have been generated since, one is around immigration enforcement. And not too long after the inauguration, the president announced that enforcement priorities would be expanded and could include anybody who's in violation of our immigration law. And that really undermines the rule of law in a lot of ways, in my view. Because if everyone is a priority, then there's no way to identify, in a world of limited resources, who to target for deportation and who to protect or who to place on the back burner. So we have 11.2 million people living in the United States without authorization, and we have money to deport about 400,000, or less than 4% of that population. So in a framework where there are true enforcement priorities, the 400,000 targeted might be individuals who pose an actual threat to the public safety or national security of the United States, not necessarily to busboys who are working at restaurants without papers, or undocumented parents who are caregiving to a U.S. citizen child, or to a child with a serious medical condition. And so this phenomena of prioritization is also critical, I think, to the rule of law, and has been recognized as such by the U.S. Supreme Court and also by our own. So for anybody who has DACA, my first message is you are not alone. Because the other piece that cannot be overstated with the rescission of DACA is the psychic toll that this rescission has on individuals and families who are affected. The second message I might have is to arm yourself with accurate information. And there are a number of clinics around the country that are trying to do this. And we have a fact sheet up on our website in Spanish, Korean, and English on the DACA rescission and what it means. For anybody who has an expiration date coming up, please consult with an immigration lawyer to ensure that your renewal applications are received by the government by October 5th. And finally, for those who have an expired DACA or who don't qualify to file for a renewal application, please meet with a lawyer to explore what your other options are under the law. By its terms, any person who has DACA has lived in the United States for at least 10 years. So there may be other remedies available under the law. One thing we noticed when we did DACA clinics even back in 2012 when the program was announced is that young people who came forward to figure out whether or not they may qualify for DACA had never met with an immigration lawyer before and may not have even realized that they might qualify for other and more durable types of relief. Sure. So if you go to the website of Penn State Law University Park, you will see a hub for all of our clinical programs, and one of those clinics is the Center for Immigrants Rights. And we have a clearinghouse, if you will, called Immigration After the Election. And if you click on that, you'll see a long list of resources on DACA, as well as other immigration policies emanating from this current administration. And if people have any questions, they're welcome to send an email to the Immigration Clinic and also to attend any forums that we might host. We engage in a lot of community outreach and education throughout the campus and in the community. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll be having a town hall on the latest travel ban at 3:30 p.m. Last week, we had a forum on the future of DACA, which was also Facebook Lived. And so all of those recordings are available on our website as well.